Dear friends, good evening. Thank you for joining us to another Gnostic Lab of Practical Application. Our practice tonight is called the Fallacy of the Ego. We want to make this a different practical experience. We're going to start by relaxing our physical body. We are going to sing together, recite a series of mantras. And after we have done that, we're going then to reflect in understanding the ego of desire, the ego of the mind, and the ego of ill will. These three particular demons that exist inside of us, we need to comprehend them. And we need to learn to detect them, not because we are intellectually reaching out and looking for them, but because we have to empower the consciousness to perceive them. That way, the moment that they show up, the consciousness will perceive what that ego is. In its heightened state of awareness, it would create that sensation of alertness. And once it is there, it would empower the consciousness to see it, to comprehend it, to see how it affects the thoughts, the sentiments, the behaviors of the body. And right then and there, to invoke of the power of Devi Kundalini. So we're going to start relaxing our body. We're going to sing a series of mantras to invoke the innermost. And once we have done that, we are going then to reflect on these particular defects. I would lead you with the words of Master Samael Aun Weor so that we can empower the consciousness to see and perceive better. So let's go ahead and start by closing our eyes. Let's find a comfortable surface where we can lay on our back. I would encourage you to lay on your back with your head towards the north or towards the east. Towards the north is way better for this particular exercise. And if you have a Gnostic journal with you, go ahead and bring that Gnostic journal. In the rare event that you may fall asleep, but remember, if you fall asleep, by the time that you open your eyes, do not move. Simply remain calm and relaxed. And make an effort to remember everything you saw, you heard, you perceived while you were in the dream state, so that you can write it down. So let's go ahead and find a good place where we can lay down for this practice. I will give you a second to do so. Very well. Now that we are comfortably laying on our mat, whether it's a yoga mat or the carpet or a good rug, a sofa, maybe the bed, with every exhalation, let's allow the physical body just to sink a little deeper onto that surface. So let's take a deep breath in. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Let's make ourselves aware of the sensations in the physical body. If there's anything that feels uncomfortable, whether you are wearing it or not, if your back feels uncomfortable the way that it is and you happen to have a pillow close by, it is perfectly fine to just set that pillow under your knees so that you can release any pressure in your back. As we make ourselves aware of the sensations in the physical body and we relieve any pressure, any discomfort that we may have been experiencing. Let's take another deep breath in 1, 2. Let's make ourselves aware of our emotional state. By now we are very familiar that these emotional states come and go just like the swing of a pendulum. By now we have experienced many times that just as today we may be happy, later on we go through a moment that is difficult and we experience sadness. We know that if today we're laughing, it is because in previous days we were very sad. We were perhaps even crying. We know that if we feel confident, it is because at other moments we have been feeling doubtful. So having this direct experience of the swings of the pendulum, and we know very well that there is no need to identify with any one of these emotional states. It does not matter what others may say or think about us. Our role is to move about life decisively as a spiritual warrior seeking for the realization of our innermost, and all along we will strive to sacrifice for others, to be honorable, to be truthful, to be courageous at the time of adversity. And by now we know very well that as long as we live our life like that, seeking to benefit others, then there is no need to worry about what anyone may say or may think. And with this reassurance, with this sensation of gratitude and satisfaction that emerges from deep within our heart, we take another deep breath in 1, 2. And we focus the attention of our consciousness in the beatings of our heart. Allow the consciousness to perceive the activity that is happening within our heart. And you will notice that almost instantaneously we feel those gentle palpitations on our chest. So as we empower the attention, the faculties, and all the virtues of the consciousness, let's project those heartbeats on the tip of our nose. We notice that we do not have to look for the sensation. And we also notice that spontaneously, those gentle pulsations manifest right there on the tip of our nose. And we experience them and we take a deep breath in 1, 2. And as we exhale and we allow the physical body just to sink a little deeper onto that surface, we come to notice that the more relaxed the physical body is, the more noticeable these gentle pulsations become. So let's project these pulsations from the tip of our nose onto our right ear. Notice that as the attention of the consciousness shifts onto that right ear, there is an immediate perception by the sense of touch. And just like that, we also feel those gentle pulsations of our heart, but only in our ear. And we experience that with much, much gratitude. And as we continue to focus on our breath, in through our nose, out through our nose, we bring the attention of our consciousness to our right hand. And we can also see that in a way that is very spontaneous. Just like that, those pulsations transition from our ear to our right hand. And we take another deep breath in 1, 2. And we focus on our right foot. And not only our physicality can perceive the attention of the consciousness, focusing exclusively on the right foot, but also those gentle palpitations of our heart now manifest only on the foot itself. We continue to focus on our breathing. With every exhalation, we just let another part of our body, something that we just realized that we had not focused on, just to sink a little deeper onto the mat. And we bring the attention of the consciousness then onto our left foot. And we perceive the gentle transition of that attention. And we perceive the gentle beatings of our heart. And we experience that sensation with a great deal of satisfaction. because just as is, it is perfect. By now, we notice that our breathing has become almost imperceptible. And thus we bring the attention of our consciousness onto our left hand. And from our left foot to our left hand, not only the perception of that attention of the consciousness, but also those gentle heartbeats. As we seek to perceive the rest of our body, we can see that there's that very noticeable, typical sensation of softness that comes with relaxation. And that it is very, very prevalent in our shins and our legs. It is very prevalent in our hips. We can feel it throughout our body. And as we once again perceive those gentle heartbeats on our hand, we transition those from our left hand to our left ear. And from our left ear, let's bring them back to the tip of our nose. With every heartbeat, let's use our willpower and our objective imagination to see how the muscles of our jaw relax, how we relax our lips and our tongue, how we relax our eyes and our eyelids, how we relax the muscles of our forehead, and as you perceive those gentle palpitations on the tip of your nose, let's allow those to dissipate and go back to their point of origin. As those dissipate, we imagine a gentle light that comes to us up from the infinite heavens. That penetrates into our body. That is a light that concentrates itself in our lungs, in our heart, in our solar plexus, in our legs and in our creative organs. A light that illuminates the base of the spine, but just as much irradiates our throat and our head. As you perceive this, I will invite you to once again relax your eyes. If you notice that you had been rolling your eyes to the sides or up, allow your eyes just to remain comfortably relaxed. And though your eyelids may be closed, just for your eyes to continue facing forward. And it is okay if somehow you realize that you can perceive certain images. We do not identify with these. But if we perceive them with a great deal of satisfaction. And using our silent word, we invoke of the power of our innermost by saying, Divine Father, Father of mine, you who are my true being, you who are my eternal God, we're here humbly at your presence, asking of you and begging of you for your contribution. Allow us to comprehend the many fallacies of our ego. Empower our consciousness to immediately perceive those egos of desire, those egos of the mind, those egos of the ill will. Those very same three demons that are present in the great drama of the Master Yeshua ben Pandira that also happen to exist within each and every one of us. We ask of you, Father, that you invoke as well of our real being, the flame of the flame, the intelligence of the intelligence, the compassion of all compassions. And we invoke of our real being for guidance, for intelligence, for wisdom. We invoke of our real being to awaken in us our internal kaom, to awaken in us those virtues of your spiritual soul. And to that we sing the mantra, Pander. Pander. Samael tells us that the fallacy of the ego is the habit of deceiving without any limitations. And this fallacy is processed through the series of the many psychological aggregates that we carry within. He even says that any person could make the mistake of shooting themselves in the head. But even if they did that, the famous ego will never be able to commit suicide. People from all different pseudo-esoteric schools have developed great ideals and even set very sublime intentions. And even though they do this, these ideals and these intentions sustain their existence in the field of everything that is subjective. It remains within the realm of thought, because these all exist within the ego. And the ego is always perverse. Sometimes it dresses itself with beautiful virtues. And Samael says it even wears the robe of sanctity. But when the ego wants to cease to exist, it does not do so in a way that is disinterested. It does not do so in a way that is pure. It seeks to cease to exist by continuing in a different manner, aspiring for rewards and happiness. So we must know that there is a series of psychological aggregates. These egos process themselves in series and more series of thoughts, of sentiments, of desires, hatreds, and habits. And those who divide their perception of self, their I, they continue then dividing the ego between something that is considered superior and something that is inferior. We know very well that such a division between a superior I and an inferior I is 100% false. Superior and inferior are nothing more than two extremes of the same thing. And Samael even says, superior I and inferior I are the two sections of Satan. We know very well that one aspect of the ego cannot eliminate another ego. And the most that we can do is to then conceal what is convenient for us. We do this when we lack of this true wisdom. We then tend to hide our perversities. And as we do that, we tend to smile to others as if we were virtuous. And that is the fallacy of the ego. It is the habit of deceiving. One part of myself can always hide another part of myself as well. But this is the fallacy of the ego. We all carry a demon of ill will within us. That is the internal Pharisee. We will appear very beautiful on the outside, but as the Master says, we are very rotten on the inside. Some of us may even choose to make sacrifices. Some of us will choose to not eat meat, maybe not consume alcohol, maybe not smoke. And others will see us. There will be a perception in them that we are just, that we may be decisive, that as we are decisive, that we may be very committed. And yet within us, there still exist many other aggregates of extortion, aggregates of a voracious appetite and excess. With this fallacy of the ego, our internal Pharisee will conceal all of our internal crimes from the eyes of everyone else. And it will also hide itself from itself. Samael has said that he has known of many Pharisees who carry out tremendous fasts, frightening acts of penance. And they even grow convinced that they are just, that they are wise. And yet their victims suffer tremendously. And almost always the victims are the wives or the husbands. The victims are the children who become just victims of evil deeds. Within us, that so-called superior I will tend to say, today I will overcome my anger. Today I will overcome my lust. But even if the superior I would say that, the also so-called inferior I will then laugh with the laughter of Aristophanes. And then all these demons of passion that exist within us will hide within the many different areas of the mind. This is how the fallacy of the ego functions. The Master says that any intellectual effort to dissolve the ego is useless, because any movement of the mind belongs to the ego itself. Any part of the ego can have good intentions, and if that's the case, then so what? If we become fooled by these fallacies, we may find ourselves in a path of good intentions. And Samael says that the path that leads to the abyss is indeed paved with good intentions. We must learn to break the spell of all of these useless efforts and fallacies. When one ego wants to destroy another ego, that is a useless effort. It is only through the true comprehension that we can get to comprehend in depth what these useless battles of the mind are. And only by the comprehension of all these internal and external actions, all of these internal and internal reactions, that all the hidden motives, all those concealed impulses will come to light. It is through that comprehension that we can then attain the silence of our mind. When we don't justify ourselves, when we cease to be defending ourselves, when we cease to be blaming others for our actions and our reactions, suddenly the ego can no longer hide. And when the ego can no longer hide, then it is condemned to death. The ego likes to hide, but when suddenly it realizes that there is no more hiding, well, it comes to learn that days are over and that it's lost. If we rather than think that instead of bringing these aggregates up to the light, if we continue to tell ourselves, eventually I will achieve serenity, eventually I will achieve that calmness of the mind, and I will get there. If we think that, we need to know beforehand that we will be condemning ourselves to failure. Because the serenity of the mind does not belong to time. The only thing that belongs to time is the ego. So if we are like those that would like to assemble the serenity of the mind, to assemble it like we put together a set of Legos, bringing together different parts, we must know that that is also destined to fail. Because the serenity of the mind is not made by different parts that can be put together. The serenity of the mind comes from the invocation of that igneous, serpentine power. Once we have comprehended this or that psychological aggregate. It is through the subsequent elimination of the ego that those things that are new appear to us. The fallacy of the ego is its mechanism of constant deception, of justifying, taking shelter, blaming others, wishing wrong, making pretend. Let's not make pretend. Let's be fully authentic in every action, in every word, in every thought, in every sentiment. Let's strive to be honorable, serviceable. And as we do this, empower the consciousness to observe. Take a moment in this deep state of relaxation and revisit your day. And allow your innermost to show you, by embracing that principle of spontaneity, those instances today where you were not authentic, those instances where you decided to hide. And be particularly watchful of the thoughts, the emotions, the actions of your body at those moments. Observe without judging. Observe without criticizing. Observe to contemplate. Divine Mother, we offer you and we beg of you to accept the offering of our internal work. We offer you this comprehension of how we understand how these defects affect our thoughts, our sentiments, our actions. Allow us, Divine Mother, to see even further what springs them into action, the transactions that they realize. But as we further that understanding, we offer you what we comprehend to this moment. And we ask of you and we beg of you with our heart and with our soul that you bring forth your flaming spear of arrows, and that you help reduce this psychological aggregate to a cosmic dust. Help, Divine Mother, free and liberate our consciousness. We ask of this in your holy name. So be it. Divine Father, we give you infinite thanks for this new opportunity. We ask that you awaken in us the longing for this work, that you awaken in us the love for the work itself. And we ask that as we move forward in our day, that we move forward with a consciousness that we are your instrument, and that everything happens according to your will. So be it. So be it. So be it. Let's take another deep breath in 1, 2. Gently wiggle your toes and your fingers. Very well. Dear friends, this has been our practice tonight, understanding the fallacy of the ego. Thank you very much for letting us be part of your home and share with your family in this evening. And not much more for us to wish you, but a great weekend. Everyone have a good night, and may all beings be happy.